The Nibiru channel. Today I am here with Terral from the Black Star Project, and we're going to be going over his take on what is happening with our planet and the earthquake situation. He's also going to give you a rundown on his Black Star Project. Very, very important information this afternoon. Terrell's taking his time out today to be with us. Terrell, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Looking forward to sharing information with your subs on Project Black Star, the Earth changes, and Black Star current position, and maybe a little bit about survival group operations.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they all want to hear about it. First and foremost, I've been very concerned over the past several weeks about our earthquake situation. I try to talk about it as much as possible on my channel. I think it's a very, very important subject matter right now. And each and every day, over these past several weeks, I see the pattern clear as day. But, you have a very systematic way of explaining this, much more knowledge than I do. So right now, I'm going to give you the floor and let these folks know what's happening.
Okay, and as far as an earthquake report, then you can also go to Terral Black Star, my YouTube channel. I'm getting a little feedback from you, Scott, back there somewhere.
Here, I will.
Yeah, I gave a recent update report that you can watch for more information on explaining, on understanding the seismic pattern that we've seen here lately. The tectonic volcanic dynamic has shifted several times since 2004. In Solomon Islands, February 6, 2013, we had a big reset. We had another one, the 8.3 Chile quake, 2015, late in the year. Very strange things happened after that to tell us that we had a reset. We had no 6 magnitude earthquakes, for example, on the planet for a 5-week period after that Chile quake. And the 2.54 magnitude earthquakes diminished down to just 107, the lowest value for the last 5 years after Solomon Island. And the reason that you're seeing this activity that's right there in the United States, you didn't see this. When this investigation started, we had a quake swarm area right here, Baja California quake swarm area. You had one here at Oklahoma. Now you can see that this has changed, and it changed since 2003. The incidence of 3 and above earthquakes at Oklahoma has gone parabolic now. It was under 100 per year, well under 100 per year prior to 2013. The Russians came out with that grim report. 2014, the Schumann resonance, you're going to want to do a little bit of research on that, changed. 2004 and 2005, magnetic pole migration, the pattern of the way that the magnetic North Pole moves in its series of circles changed in 2005. It's now trailing itself by 12 degrees from the previous year. It's done that. It's doing that now in a series of loops. It's been doing it for the last 4 years. It's been doing that. So it's coming in line with that 12-day differential that you see. See if I can pull this back up. This 12 degrees that you see right here in the seismic chart between our near side alignment quake events, our backside alignment quake events. We had some late back here, and we're wondering if this Vanuatu quake right here, you see this little small angle, should be a 12. It's because of Jupiter. So it's looking more and more. Whenever Jupiter was in back orbit, the black stars over on this side of the solar system, whenever Jupiter was in back orbit around here, just take the position of the black star in Libra, draw a line this way. Then draw a perpendicular line this way, 90 degrees, and you have this half of the solar system that Jupiter is in near orbit to the black star, and this backside where it's on back orbit. Well, it made the transition over here at the 90-degree angle mark on January 5th, 2014. The backside alignment quake events were late back over here when Jupiter was around here. Now our near side alignment event came a little over a week early on the last cycle, and we're wondering, Black Star and Jupiter are getting really, really close. We're wondering if this solar system harmonics is being influenced by Jupiter and throwing off the modeling, what's going on. So while I'm here, I'll just show you how and why we have 2 Earth change uptick periods every year. It's very predictable, and 2 lull periods every year. So we can look at this cycle, or we can go back to a previous cycle in 2012. If you're following my research in 2012, we're putting Leo in the background, like this. And we would have reached the 90-degree. I'm going to have difficulty grabbing the Earth like that without messing it up. Here we go. We're going to bring the Earth back around to this 90-degree angle. There's Leo right there. And so when we get to this 90-degree angle mark, this is whenever the Earth change uptick period would start. And the reason is because the black star being here, the Earth has been in back orbit to the black star moving around, but it's when we start moving towards the black star like this that we have the uptick period. So it's pretty easy to identify. for this particular cycle that we're on right now, the black star has, so we've been tracking it every year coming across. I've been making these same presentations as it's been coming across every year. And now it's in the Libra constellation relative to the sun. There's an article in this week's newsletter because they're asking me this, the blue, what's his name? Black Sun, somebody on YouTube. He's been, he has a different method using tides, and he's been using Jupiter, and he has apparently some pretty good data. I haven't been able to look at it yet, but he's placing the black star over in Sagittarius. He's saying that's where it is, but he's talking about relative to Earth position. That it's important to realize that in all of my commentary, black star position is given relative to the sun. It varies with the Earth because the Earth's moving around the sun like this. The sun is the center of the solar system. So the black star's between, not way out there where Libra is. Black star is actually somewhere near Mars orbit path. It's pretty close right here. So if relative to the, you can see that Mercury, to give you an example, is in Virgo relative to the sun. But whenever we turn the solar system around and look at it from Earth, you can see that it's in Sagittarius. It's between Scorpio and Sagittarius relative to Earth, right? Because it's so close to us. The black star being relatively close to us as Earth is going around the sun, it's changing its position relative to the ecliptic constellations based upon Earth's moving 2 astronomical units, 180 million miles from this end of the solar system to this end of the solar system. So if we could see it, it would appear to be moving back and forth. And while we are in near orbit, the Earth is going this way, it appears to be retrograding. As we're moving between them, then we pass the black star and then move by it. So it's behind us. It's even with us. We have the same view as the sun relative to the sun in the month of April, late April, because we're in a straight line. But when we go past it, the black star would appear to be retrograding back into Virgo from our position relative to the Earth. That's why in all my presentations, I'm going to give you position of the black star relative to the sun, because it does change with the Earth. But the uptick period comes when the Earth is moving like this towards the black star. The reason is because the black star is here, the sun's here, the black star is here, the Earth is here. We're moving towards it. The magnetic portal connection between the Earth and the black star is getting shorter and shorter every day. And it's shortening by up to 60,000 miles per hour when we're moving directly towards it. A shortening magnetic portal connection means that the internal conduits, two types, the active conduits and the passive conduits that are on the outer wall, that they provide insulation properties for the magnetic portal connections. But as these two stars get closer and closer together, the internal conduits, the active conduits, greatly outnumber the passive conduits that are squeezed and pushed to the outside. That's what causes this magnetic portal connection from the black star and the sun to interact with these other magnetic portal connections as they come in near proximity. So that's what happens to cause the magnetopause reversal. For example, March 12, 2012, and again on April 23, 2016, because the Earth was moving between the two stars. We're pulling a Sun-Earth magnetic portal connection and a black star-Earth magnetic portal connection across the primary star-to-star connection. And as that happens, these magnetic portal connections create a triangle in here that converges, and then the black star crosses through. Those magnetic portal connections are pulled across one another. As they are, it causes portal-to-portal cross-firing. It creates highly charged ionic clouds that are being misrepresented by NASA, suspicious observers, and others as interplanetary shock waves. That's what they're calling them, interplanetary shock waves.
You know what?
So we get these crisscrossing waves, and then so that explains how we're going to get the uptick period. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, in your research with this black star, can you compare it to a brown dwarf, or is it just its own monster?
Definitely not a brown dwarf. Early in the investigation, we thought it was a brown dwarf, but then we got Don, our project astronomer. He has an observatory class telescope at his disposal and infrared accessories. We know the observation window times. The optimum times is for the last few years been April, May. We know where it's at. He knows where to look. He's a good astronomer. He's looking, cannot make observations. Cannot see evidence of microlensing, gravitational lensing effect. Cannot see a darn thing. So we know where it is, but we also know that we can't see it. It's not a brown dwarf star. He could see it. This is going to be something between a black dwarf star that our solar system is too young to support, if it's a transitional dwarf, but this is a remnant body. This was created by the collapse of our, we got that feedback again. Oh, voice for your listeners and make them escalate. So this we're dealing with a remnant body that was created from the supernova of our sun's binary twin. So it's not a naturally forming transitional dwarf, definitely not. It's going to be from our binary twin that was much larger than our sun. It burned out more rapidly because of that. Whenever it went supernova, it created this remnant body. It compressed the very center compress, the compression from the implosion. It's like forming a diamond inside the Earth. You can get, if you don't have enough pressure, you get a lump of coal. You get enough pressure, you get a diamond. Well, it's going to be something in between a black dwarf star and a neutron type star, a non-rotating magnetar type star. But it's not a naturally occurring star, so it's not going to be cataloged by NASA supercomputers or anything like that. It is anomalous. It's anomaly. Behaves more like a black hole than it does any known celestial object. And it's going to set down deep inside that gravity well. It's going to likely have an event horizon, even though a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. Some of our physicists, project physicists, say that it must have one, and some say that it will not have one. So there's even disagreement among real smart people that that astrophysics is their thing. There's disagreement on the properties, features, characteristics, behavior of this object. Myself, I'm somewhere in the middle, trying to use the assistance of the physicists, the astronomers, and everybody, and also correlate that, tie that in and Nibiru somewhat, just because there is a cycle, doesn't matter how many years it is, 3,600 years or whatever, and with scripture, the Earth staggering like a drunkard, the sun turning dark, not giving forth its light, the signs in the moon, the stars, and everything, the tsunamis, the waves, the things happening on the Earth that petrify men so that they're turn white and they're frightened to death of what's happening. So go back in time, the days of Noah, days of Moses, and at the end of the age, Christ predicts that these things are going to happen. When you tie it all together, all the information, then we have an intruder in the inner solar system. It's already in the inner solar system, and it is going to be mentioned in the Dakota report, where Project Black Star is mentioned several times in the operations section. They talk about the death and destruction and things that are going to come, and that's precisely what Scripture says, that destruction is going to come suddenly, like the birth pangs upon a woman with child. I interpret that as the earth changes, the patterns in the earth changes, being the birth pangs. The sudden destruction comes because this object, if you can see, it originates, its aphelion position is above the head of Orion, right here. Where it reaches perihelion is between the sun and the left side of Sagittarius, right over here.
So
right, so it's coming in on this orbit, and it only has two opportunities. It crosses Earth orbit's path on the way in, it reaches perihelion near Venus orbit, and then it leaves. We have an opportunity for a springtime crossing event and a fall time crossing event. This one happens before the perihelion, before the sun turns dark. The one at the end of the age happens around here in November, after the black star reaches perihelion, after the sun turns dark. So Christ can give those predictions from Joel 2 about what's going to happen, because it's happened before this fall time crossing event. It's this springtime event that you cannot see coming. The sun is, you can see that the coronal holes are getting bigger, it's getting darker, it seems to be going to sleep, according to the scientists. It's going to turn dark by the time the black star reaches it, but it's going to cross Earth orbit path first. So if all these things are true, we're going to have a springtime crossing event, and it's slowing down. Inbound orbital velocity has a magnetic repulsion relationship with our sun, so it's difficult. We know the month, it's difficult to tell the year. We can't tell yet. The magnetic pole migration modeling says it's going to happen May 2017. The binary star magnetic repulsion modeling says that it's going to happen in May 20th, 2018. So right now we do not have enough input data to know definitively which model is correct. Go ahead.
So referring back to the sun, is there something happening to the sun as we speak? Is this black star having a very adverse effect on our sun? I mean, with all of the coronal holes, I mean, just this constant, non-stop coronal hole after coronal hole opening up, very, very large holes opening up. So this is, I mean, because that is my thought, that is my theory, that is what's happening right now to our sun, and getting into all of a sudden this big, massive change in our weather systems. And I try to put all of this together for my subscribers, and I mean, without having super data, like from NASA and all of these space agencies, it's kind of hard. And you try to put it together yourself, and I'm not a scientist by any means, but I mean, I investigate these things on a daily basis, 12, 14 hours a day. It's very hard to keep up with everything that is going on with our planet every single minute of the day. I mean, there are some days that I'm afraid to go to sleep, because in 3 hours later, I'm going to get up and wow, here we go. We have another situation. So in your professional opinion and your research, this is definitely having a big effect on the sun?
Yeah, while you're giving your commentary there, that I'm pulling up some links to help you. Okay, this right here is the radio flux progression. What this is, solar. If you go back in time, solar cycle 24 was projected to be bigger than solar cycle 23. You're looking at the peak over here for 23. Here we come along. We're moving along in time. Sun's going to solar minimum right here. Then as it starts going up right here, supposedly we reached the peak in 2011. You see the little peak right there? Thing is, the flux values are half of what they should be. And then we start seeing, flatline. These values that you're looking at down here at 100, you can see that they are way lower than they're supposed to be. Whenever you put on top of that the sunspot numbers, because these charts are going to follow each other, then you see a pattern and a reason why they are predicting that the sun is going into a grand minimum. They're making that prediction, but that prediction is going to be wrong. The reason that the sun is showing these signs of weakness is because it's the electromagnetic energy is being siphoned off from another star. That's what the black star is doing. At the same time, the heliosphere that surrounds our solar system, there's our solar system is contained inside the heliopause, just like Earth is inside the magnetosphere. So here's the bow shock. This would be on the Ophiuchus side of our solar system. The helium focusing cone you guys heard about will be formed on the back side of that. Earth enters that December 5th or 6th every year. But the point here is that it is shrinking, and it at the time of the writing of this article in 2010, it had already shrunk 25% in just the last in that decade previous. So that's coinciding with this, and I wanted to get you a picture of it's going to look almost identical. It's sunspots, sunspot number. When you look at that, you're going to see exactly the same chart that you were just looking at, because those the flux values in the. Let me see.
Yeah, I've noticed we haven't seen any sunspots for quite a while. Then all of a sudden now
you see how this looks like the exact same chart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
See that peak you have in 2011? It looks like the same, because those the solar output, the X-ray, the radio flux values, and these sunspot numbers generally go right alongside each other. So you can tell when you're getting near solar maximum, when all these numbers increase, the sun is going to develop 30 degrees above and below the equator, these two lines of sunspots when you get up to this maximum number. That's traditional. It's typical. Problem is, here we are. We're supposedly right here at the second peak. We're really close to that, and the sun's been behaving like it's in solar minimum. We never saw the poles flip like we did back in 2001, where you could see it. And I tried to go back and get the video feed of the flip, and it looks like that they've all been removed, as if that kind of thing is not supposed to happen, because on this cycle that did not happen. I've been doing this investigation every day looking for it, and it didn't happen. So the sun is acting very strangely right now. But the answer to your question is going to be absolutely yes. The strange sun is one of the witnesses in this case, saying that we have an interloper in the inner solar system. That's one of the witnesses in our case, right along with the Earth, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, now Venus, becoming a better witness in this case too.
Now,
go ahead.
And according to a lot of your studies, I just noticed over the whole entire period of last year, and what I'm going to refer to as near Earth objects, meteors, asteroids. It just seems that we've had an abundance of this type of activity throughout 2016, especially going into the latter part of the year. The black star, does it have the ability to draw these objects in closer to us, or is this just not even a factor? If it just
absolutely, oh yeah, absolutely a factor. Not only that, let's go to right over here. Just to give you a little bit of insight, the meteor fireball logs. Let's look at what was going on in 2005 versus 2010 versus what we're seeing right now. Let's go back to 2005. These are the reports. Look at the number, 459 in 2005. Okay, remember that number, 245. Now let's go 5 years later. That number's up to 933. See, so it about doubled.
Yeah, I think
then we're going to go to 2000.
I think we topped out over 15,000 for 2016, or no?
5329 for 2016. But you see, that's multiplied by more than 10 times in 10 years.
Wow.
So it's increasing. On the chart, it's going up like the global temperature. It's going up like a lot of the other things that are happening with our planet. Things are starting to go parabolic. So this is the sighting of meteor fireballs is part of the ping pong effect of having an interloper in the inner solar system. 2013 was called the year of the comet because there's so many diving comets into the sun. Asteroids, the number of asteroids that are falling out of orbit. These are asteroids that would have fallen out of orbit anyway, but they're being perturbed by something. and that something is going to be the black star. It has an effect on an object, and then that object affects an object that affects an object, and eventually then these objects that would have fallen out of orbit sometime or another are nudged so that they fall out of orbit earlier than they would, which gives you a big grouping of them falling out at the same time.
Yeah,
So in
this is definitely one of my biggest fears, is because NASA misses so many of these objects. They spot the object, and then all of a sudden they're issuing their information, and the next thing you know, we have a near Earth object. It's going to be flying by in the next 24 hours. Well, I mean, you
although
know as well.
that's not necessarily true. The problem is back in 2009, legislation changed so that now NASA is not allowed to warn people about anything coming from space. They have to report the information to the Department of Homeland Security, and then the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and these continuity of government people, they sit down and decide what is fit for public dissemination now. Though whenever they remove the keyframe data from the magnetosphere, they don't want us to see what's happening. They'll actually steal the data, take it. They decide if we're going to be able to see it or not. The same thing is happening with the USGS. You can blame the USGS for being liars and fools and idiots and stuff, just like NASA people that never give you a straight answer. But their lips are being sealed too by the Department of Homeland Security. That is actually not a Department of Homeland Security at all. You wouldn't have 30 million illegals running around in the United States, killing 30 to 50 Americans every single day. If they had anything to do with Homeland Security, they do not. That's not what they're here for. They're serving the elite, like the Gestapo and the SS did for Hitler and the Third Reich. It's just we have the Fourth Reich here. It's another Rothschild program. He owns a central bank, Federal Reserve, just like he owned a central bank for Germany. And we have many of the same programs going now that Germans had back in World War II. That's history is repeating itself right here. The Department of Homeland Security is more like the Gestapo.
So
And
maybe I
it's
was
going to
being
be
a little,
anything.
maybe I'm being a
And,
little too
and they're in
hard on
charge.
NASA. Maybe I
Yeah,
was
they're
being
being.
a little too hard on NASA there, but I
Well,
see your
if you
point.
watch the 2012 movie, you'll see there's people with green cards. There's people that's going to the underground. Their storyline was they're going to these ships. In reality, they're going to underground cities.
Yeah.
There's people that have them. And the people that are going to be offered these green cards are people with NASA, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, USGS, anybody that could blow the whistle. If they want their families to go to the underground arc cities, while the rest of us are fending for ourselves against the Black Star, they can't say anything. So there is something to what you're saying, but there's also change in legislation that forbids NASA from just seeing something and saying something. They can't do that anymore like they used to. And the Nazis that are running the United States from the Department of Homeland Security they're not going to be letting us have that information. They're working for the CIA out of Denver. And that's part of the Council on Foreign Relations Working Groups, Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs, the hierarchy of Canamera, Mexico, that's really running the show. Doesn't matter if Hillary or Trump wins the puppet position over in Washington, D.C. What really matters is what's going on in Denver, right? That's the reality.
Let me ask you one question. So what you just covered there, I agree with 100%. What do you think is going to happen to all of these individuals who work for all of these contractors and these little subcontractors in their spread of disinformation and misinformation? You think they're going to be the first ones to the chopping block in my eyes?
Well, are you talking about on this earth? Or are you talking about in heaven?
I'm talking about on this earth. I'm talking about physical human beings that have taken it upon themselves to, I mean, listen, I've done a lot of homework in this whole, if you want to call it misinformation, disinformation campaign. I don't want to get into the whole trolling routine, but I've found over the past year that these organizations do exist. I mean, they torment me on a daily basis. And these are just regular people. These aren't people that belong to the military or the government. These are little scumbag subcontracted people that just take on these topics. And I don't know if they're paid to do it. I don't know how they're organized to do it. But I've come across a few of these organizations, and one of them torments me on a daily basis. I mean, they've delved into my family, my personal life, my YouTube channel, my credit, my cell phone. I mean, they've even taken pictures of my house and put them in YouTube videos. They just photographed my grandmother's house a few weeks ago and put the coordinates to her house in their videos so people can click on it using Google Maps and go straight to her house. So
Yep.
I don't see anything like that happening with someone who just wants to explore trolling on a YouTube channel. I find that
Right.
that okay, this guy's getting to the information while he's alerting people, he's on to something. Yeah, we need to shut him up. So I don't see the government being directly involved in it, but I can see their hand in it through, you know,
Well, the
and
government, my view of the government is not as nearly as, I don't give them as much credit for being very bright as you are. It's going to
okay,
be, it's going to be elite groups more now. In the old days, than it was the CIA.
yeah,
Now they're like bumper cars running into each other. You have the Illuminati groups, Trilateral Commission groups, all these different groups
I see your
that are
point
in
now.
their. They're going to the underground Arc City program. They have their commanders, they have their handlers, they have operatives, assets, and then they have dupes. And you could be being attacked by a dupe. Somebody really thinks they're doing the right thing. They're serving the public. But they're duped. They bought
Yes.
into this information program. And when more dupes you get, then you can start redeploying your assets to other areas because the dupes are doing your job for you.
Well, I guess
And then
the point
and
that I
you don't
was
leave your
trying to,
fingerprints as much either. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the point that I was trying to get to, I guess I just kind of like blew off on the whole governmental crap. But the
Hmm.
point I was getting to is these people aren't getting a ticket to the Ark. They're not,
In other words,
they're yeah, they're
you
not
see them as
they're
disposable assets.
exactly. That's the perfect phrase that I wanted.
Right.
Completely disposable,
Hmm.
like a
Right.
piece
But they
of
don't
trash.
realize it.
I know
So what
exactly.
you have in that case, what I call them is sleepers. They're working for the elite, right beside the elite, but they're not going to the underground Arc City. That's why they need to be deployed and they need to be engaged. They're oriented to do this work, and then they stay engaged all the time. This is where their nose is. They never see the thing coming for that reason. They're just sent out here to do the disinformation, desensitize the sheeple, discredit anybody that's pointing towards anything coming from space.
Yeah.
And then the fail-safe plan of the elite is launched. They're going to release a contagion, likely. They're going to be martial law. Power grids are going to go down, roadblocks, quarantines. And these operatives, the ones that are helping the elite right now, are going to be trapped just like we are
Exactly.
later down the road. And it's going to be us against them type of thing. Elements of our military the same way, National Guard, they're being deployed and trained to be sent directly into harm's way. So it's us against them, against the Black Star. We neutralize each other. The elite come out smelling like a rose. That's pretty much what we're seeing around the world. Russia is doing their training exercises. We're doing Cascadia Rising, Jade Helm, all these different exercises, getting these people ready to deploy into harm's way. That's how they get rid of their sleepers. If that's the biggest problem. The sleepers wake up, they start a civil war. They want their place in the underground Arc Cities, and then it threatens the success of the elite and their underground Arc City program. That's what they don't want. That's really what they're trying to stop, is us waking up their sleepers more than anything else. General public, they are desensitized, they're fluoridated, five pineal glands, really not a lot of free three-dimensional thinkers to be able to do the critical thinking, to be able to resolve anything. So they're pretty much cattle running around, and with enough disinformation program, you just keep viral scream going. They're never going to get their compass. They're never going to get to find the direction. They're never going to be trusting of any leadership. And you have to have strong leadership for a successful survival group operation. So the elite's plan it's a good plan, and people really do not have a really good chance of surviving what's coming from space. There's a chance that they can do that, but they really have to be dedicated. They have to surround themselves with great leaders, and then they have to do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. They're going to have to make sacrifices for the group, egos and things like that. Extremely difficult to run a successful operation like that. So the elite really have things in their favor. Controlling the media, controlling the money, and the price of silver. And then they're going to keep just cruising along until they get within 60 to 90 days of the quote-unquote event, in my view. And then hysteria is going to happen from the launching of their fail-safe plan, and then they're going to disappear in the midst of all the scurrying around and martial law and things like that that are expected to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with
Go ahead.
100% of what you're saying. We share definitely the same thoughts 100%. There's no doubt. I would not want to be one of these other individuals. I definitely would not want to be. But I mean, we've given them enough airtime with their operations. But getting back to our planet and our earthquake situation, how do you foresee what's coming as far as our earthquake situation? I mean, I see it getting much worse. You know, over over a very short amount of time. I mean, it's just a
Okay.
matter of time from what I see. Something very tragic happening, you know, on our west coast of our country.
Okay, what we're going to do is go back and look at the last 30 days, just 4.5 and above. And we're going to renew this right here, and we're going to show you a pattern. It's a kind of a disturbing pattern. It's part of my recent update report. Let's go back and look at the whole 30 days.
Oh my God.
Now, this right here is the origination zone here in Indonesia, where all these magma plume arms begin. This is the origination zone right here where my cursor is. See this big quake right here? When this big quake took place, it happened, it's going to be about 600 kilometers. It's going to be difficult to see through all that data. Let's see if I can see it. It's going to be 600. It's definitely down in the transition zone, Earth mantle. I'm having difficulty seeing where it was. But anyway, these deep quakes like this, they're beyond 410 kilometers. They're taking place inside of Earth transition zone. It's a glassy layer, rock on top, metal on bottom. It's 410 to 660 kilometers inside of our Earth, and it's inside that transition zone that these buoyancy barrier corridors are being created by these large magnitude earthquake events. What a joke. The USGS is a joke. Whenever they give us an earthquake like this, and then they send us the summary information, and it's about the tectonics that are taking place at the very top of the Earth, the very top in the crust. They're not giving us any information on what's going down in Earth transition zone or any reason that there should be a 7-8 magnitude earthquake that deep inside of the Earth and the ramifications of what that means as far as rising magma plume formations and how that magma plume formation becomes an energy storing reservoir that can be released later in the timeline. So what's happened is, I don't know if your subs, see if I can find this story for you. It's got a good diagram on it. It's going to be magma blobs. That's the keywording right here. This is a picture of what's happening inside the Earth right here. My system's running just a little bit slow because of all our connections. I wanted to try to enlarge that picture for you a little bit. There we go. This is what's going on inside of Earth transition zone. And if you look real closely, you'll see these horn formations that form. These horn formations are very important to realize, because that big giant quake that we had down here, 7.7, had no precursor quakes. Didn't have a 2.5, didn't have a 3, didn't have anything leading up to it. It just happened out of nowhere. Because one of these horns off of one of these magma plume formations and the reverberating wave from the lull period, that's what happens at the end of the lull period. Whenever this buoyancy barrier corridor begins to contract, then you get these waves pushing back and forth in these horns. After the wave passes, these horns subside. They push way down. As the wave reemerges, this thing pushes up very rapidly. That's what happened down here. No precursor quakes at all. Bam, this earthquake comes out of nowhere. This formation right here is expanding around the entire planet. It was a Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire phenomenon a couple of years ago. Now there are bad warning signs. The terminal end, that formation down there, it pushed north around here. The terminal end was at Alaska for the last couple of years. At least that's what I thought. It appears that this formation has already pushed underneath Cascadia and is already closer to California than I realized. That's why you're seeing these larger magnitude earthquakes that are coming out of nowhere with no precursor quakes. None of the small magnitude earthquakes going with them. Down here on the southern side, all of these fives that are out here results from the horn formations on these magma plumes that are pushing upwards. They're trying to break through the buoyancy barriers is what they're trying to do. So you're seeing the stories about the Antarctic ice breaking off. This chunk,
yeah.
Because this magma plume activity is pushed further south. This line was running across this way. Now it's further south, and look at all this activity around, because now the magma plume arm that reaches up that way towards Alaska and across that way to Chile is extending across this way too. The terminal end for the last 2 years has been here at Gibraltar. Then about 4, 5, 6 weeks into the uptick period, then it pushes through Gibraltar where you get several 4s and 5s here, and then it pushes the mid-Atlantic ridge. But we're seeing this activity along the mid-Atlantic ridge. Well, if I was showing you the 7-day, it'd be more accurate because this is for the last 7 days. But what I'm showing you is these larger magnitude earthquakes. This is another arm that reaches from Indonesia around this way. That terminal end is pushing north and is going to meet this arm coming across here until this pressure coming through the Americas meets, and all of these magma plume formations are strung together, one giant formation. Then whenever you have this big earthquake, like the one we just had, and especially this one wasn't down in Earth transition zone, this recent one, but whenever it does happen that way, it adds energy to the entire plume. The terminal ends everywhere are tested, and it causes these reverberating waves to move back and forth within these buoyancy barrier corridors deep inside the Earth, and that is what's going to happen right here in the United States.
You know what I
Is
wanted
this
to, you know what I
this
wanted to
arm?
ask you. I'm sorry. Well, you know what I wanted to ask you real quick, because you're mentioning the word reverberation, and over the past couple of, let's say, the last couple of weeks, once again, I'm looking at these heliplots, these seismograms that the USGS puts out, and once again, I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a seismologist, but how can we have the same disturbance say for instance in the state of Washington, how could we have the same disturbance all the way across the United States and have the same disturbance at the same time in, say, northern Florida? Is that the reverberation that you're talking about? What is setting off these seismograms to give all of them the same disturbance at the same time on every single seismogram that they list? Because I've been
Hey,
noticing
are
it.
you talking about a global ringer? One that
Uh,
when we have an earthquake, that all the seismographs on the planet pick it up.
well,
That was a
no,
big
it's not.
phenomenon.
It's not even an earthquake. I can't even. I would actually have to show you, or even if you pull up the USGS and pull up the heliplots and look at them, it just amazes me how, you can have just like I said, maybe a small earthquake showing up on a heliplot in Alaska, but then every single state, all the way across the country, even up in Maine, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Massachusetts, they all show the exact same anomaly at the exact same time. And this has been occurring, it's been occurring for months. And I look at these heliplots every day, and every so often I see this. And it's just, it's been occurring more and more and more the frequency is picking up. It's not maybe once a week now, it's every couple of days. And it's kind of confusing because, I don't have a seismologist that is going to answer this question. I even called the USGS last week. They wouldn't take calls, nothing. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
kind of blowing my mind.
To give you some commentary on that, and run some analysis, I'm going to have to actually be looking at some data. Otherwise, I'm just going to be speculating.
Yeah.
The black star orbit cycle understanding. Wait a minute. Where's this overview? Yeah, this overview right here. And this, yeah, sorry about that. In the links down here, then you're going to see this information on the Schumann resonance change in 2005, the Grimm report that came out in 2004, the Chandler wobble change that came in. This is all related to the black star. The frequency of our planet is changing because of the black star and what's going on inside the planet because of this.
That's what I
So when
was.
you're asking about that resonance,
Yeah.
see, it's raising that Schumann resonance, right? And sometimes there's points that it even doubles what it should be. And I'm seeing more and more stories about how gamma ray bursts and things affect that. But there's a hoax, internet hoax, about this galactic wave thing. Galactic waves are supposedly affecting our planet. They're trying to come up with cover stories to cover up the fact that what's going on inside of our Earth is changing the harmonics, the resonation, and frequency of our planet. They're trying to make it a source that's outside of the Earth so that you can kind of see it coming, that NASA's on the wall looking for it, these waves coming off the center of the galaxy, which is a bunch of freaking nonsense.
Yeah, I caught on to that about
If,
12
if,
hours after that story
if
hit.
it, because they're going to know when we know, whenever the wave gets here. That's how they're going to know.
Yeah, if
All
you
right. It's like
if you
predicting a supernova. They'll know when the light gets here, not a minute before.
yeah, that's true. If you get a
Right?
chance, if you get a chance in your schedule, if you take a look at those heliplots for a couple of days and see if you, you're going to see it. You're going to see it.
Send me an email and outline your finding, and then let me see if I can reproduce it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because the one guy on his YouTube channel, Mike from around the world, he's been talking about it for the past several months, and I look at these plots every single day, several times a day actually, over the past few months, and that's I started to notice this, and it was it was kind of freaking me out a little bit because I live in southwestern Pennsylvania, and they're showing this massive amount of activity in a small town 100 miles away from me. They're showing this in Maine, Massachusetts, Virginia, everywhere. Everywhere in the United States. These massive anomalies on these seismograms. Now, I think Mike did mention something about a frequency. I forget exactly how he put it, but he said that something is definitely affecting the Earth internally, and these seismic devices are picking it up.
Absolutely.
He referred to it as I think a low frequency, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure, but he said it's not going to feel like an earthquake because it's really not, but it's going to register on these devices all across the globe. And then I did look at these plots across the globe,
Mm-hmm.
and they were identical all the way around the planet. and at the same time, and they were the same. They looked the same at the same time, and I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? You
Okay,
know?
send me that information because I really don't know what you're
Yep.
what you're talking about. What I wanted to do, since you're talking about plotting and charting and following them, this is what we do. This is what we've done for the last 6 years, every single week, monitoring all the earthquake events and identifying the patterns. That's where the hypothesis originated about the two. Well, the evidence shows two uptick periods and two low periods, but we want to know how it was happening, and we started noticing our black star position and Earth natural movement around the sun is what was causing it. So we were able to put those things together. But just recently, you asked me earlier about the earthquake situation, particularly for California. This right here is a disturbing 144. When you go back and look in time, you're not going to see another value that's below 180 right here. And that's at outside orbit position at the 90-degree angle mark that I told you about. You can find them near the O's. See this 192 next to the O? That's the way it's happened. But this is the second lowest value in the last 6 years. And it's coming at a time when you're having 35 of the 5 magnitude earthquakes. Look back here. We had sub 20 values 3 weeks in a row. And we had the sub. There's definitely, when you see a red mark in this chart, it means there's something happening strange. High number of 5s, low number of 2.54 magnitude earthquakes. That is because of this phenomenon right here. Because these 5s are just popping out of nowhere, no precursor quakes. So that's part of the pattern. The other thing is, if you live in California, then you're going to want to pay attention to this part right here. Go back. Let's see. Maybe we can stay here on this little dead spot that's right here in the middle. You see all this activity on the north, this activity over here in the south. This magma plume formation is pushing this direction, the terminal end. They're given direction by the buoyancy barriers themselves. They're trying to contain it. What that means is that the terminal end is pushed forward. Same thing up here. This terminal end is pushing south. This one's pushing north. This is where they're going to collide right here.
My God.
And that's why you're seeing. Let me get this back on my different source over here. Let's go back to the last 7 days. Whoops. I don't want to locate. I just want to turn it on.
Do you think we're going to see any? Do you think we're going to see any type of warning for the West Coast? Is there any kind of warning sign, or do you think this is?
Yeah, you're getting it right now. Look at what's happening here now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see it. I see it every day.
This is just the last week.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a small area of earthquakes swarm right here when this investigation started. There was another area right here. We didn't have the rest of this stuff. Now, since Solomon Island, that's cut the tectonic plate in two. It changed the tectonic dynamic of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. These plates are trying to shift this way. Now you're seeing rifts that are opening up in the United States, right up along in here. You're seeing them in South America too, down in here, because all these plates are trying to fill in that can go this way because of the breakage over there at Solomon Island, 2013. That's that the human resonance changed. These magma plume formations started kicking off, and the escalation of these big quakes started happening in the United States because these tectonic plates are moving this way, creating opportunity for slippage. So when you're looking at it from down above, from the satellites, you can see magnetic anomalies taking place because the magma that's inside is more exposed to the space, and you can see the changes that are taking place right here as a precursor warning that this big giant activity, these deep earthquakes, those deep earthquakes are coming here. So these terminal ends are going to push together right here, and when they do, those terminal ends are going to collide. And when they do, it's going to test the buoyancy barriers. They're going to, and who knows what's going to happen? They break that magma that comes out of deep inside of Earth transition zone is glassy, and as it rises, it continues to expand until it reaches the surface and it displaces the heavier magma because now it's expanded, coming all the way from 400, 600 kilometers deep inside the Earth, and then the heavier magma is displaced out of the way until the entire area rises, the entire region rises, and then it breaks and collapses. And that creates the scenario for these maps of the future. Right here. The Navy map of the future, the Scallion maps of the future.
Yeah, yeah.
But whenever I look at let's see if this is a larger version of it. This one will work. This magma displacement, that's going to this crustal displacement that's going to take place because of these pushing magma plume terminal ends is precisely what causes this effect. The washing away of these shorelines that you're seeing right here, this happens because of the geological pole shift to our planet. That means the Earth tips over. You have to realize the oceans are moving 1,000 miles per hour right now at the equator. They're going around with the Earth. But when the magnetic effect from the black star tips the crust over because of the embedded metals, the oceans are going to follow the law of gravity. So as the Earth's tipping over, these waters are going to crawl up upon the land and wash away. These shorelines like this, these magma plume formations come together. This right here is where they gurgle and bubble up to the top. This entire area collapses. That's where this map came from, my view, because whoever...
So it's not a matter of the water washing on the shore. That whole area will be like a massive teacup. It will just disappear.
Sink. It's going to sink. It's going to rise first, erupt. The eruption is going to start. It's going to send those glassy pyroclastic flows into the air. The prevailing winds are going to take it. Canada is really in a bad place for what's going to happen out here. I was explaining that to a subscriber today. That's why we need to be farther south to try to have protection from the mountain range and the prevailing winds pushing it in this direction. But then the Pacific Ocean comes in and puts it out. So this will be a gigantic, enormous fire for a while until the ocean waters come in and put it out. That's what keeps this from becoming an extinction level event, because this type of material circling around in the winds can kill animals on the other side of the planet.
Now, I know that you have a fantastic preparation plan set up, with a lot of folks, and I know that I have to consider you a professional on this matter at this point in time. But do you want to go over and let everyone know that what you've organized, and if anybody wants to, join in with you and follow you, I'd be more than happy to, give them the information. I'm going to put your link to your YouTube channel and all of your information in here, because I feel that since I have myself involved in this for a long time now, and if I can't put forth anything else for people in general, if they at least have this bit of information, if they want to join you and gather more information from you, then so be it. But yeah, if you want to go into what you have planned down in the Ozarks, I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear it.
Okay, first of all, this is my YouTube channel. You can get more information by going here. Hit that subscribe button, wherever it is. Let's get these numbers up. Appreciate that. And share the videos. Appreciate that too, giving more and more people access to the information. All the information you see here is free. This is the scripture section, 9/11 section. My book on the 9/11 truths right here. You want to know exactly what happened on 9/11? There's where you want to look. Then my book, The Mystery Explained, on scriptures right there, and the newsletter program is the way we share information on Project Black Star. So all this information is free. When you want more than $25 per year is what you pay for subscription. And then once you have that notification email that I send you, then there's a email address there where you can send for your threat assessment information. Just say, send me the threat assessment information. Put that in the topic title, and then I'll send that to you. Then you have, at the bottom, it'll give you the option of sharing your contact information with survival groups that are already forming. We have more than a couple hundred families working together in the Ozarks in a real safe zone area. That's why I want to pull up this map here. And what we should really be looking at is the safe zone map. I'll show it to you right here.
You're not going to show us the Nancy Leader safe zone map, are you?
No.
I'm just joking.
She has some good information. I used to go to her site back in 2011, but a lot of the stuff I think she's just way off on. Okay, here's going to be your safe zone map. You can see the big old giant hole out here. This is downwind of the pyroclastic flows, dust clouds. Not safe. You see where these reds come together up in Canada? It really makes this a bad situation for Canada. You want to try to get inside this red zone right here. You also need a large survival group. You also want to be underground, and you need a cavern in order to be able to do that. Digging a hole in your backyard is not going to help. Sustain temperatures outside, likely to be more than 200 degrees throughout the day, below freezing at night from nearing black star proximity whenever it's nearby us. So you're going to want to be in a cavern. You're going to want to be with a strong survival group with all your supplies, all your people. And we are located in this corner of Arkansas right here. It's about 150 miles from the liquefaction zone. This is going to be caused by a liquefaction of the entire Mississippi River Basin and a lot of the Missouri Basin. The pressures begin out here with what I already explained, these rising magma plume formations. This erupts out here. The pressures push through, and then New Madrid is activated. This creates a new line of earthquakes that take place along here, liquefying the entire region. This becomes mush. Runs right out here. Salt water rushes north all the way to the Great Lakes. This creates extra space in the plates for a new fault line, which is there. It's running along the eastern side of the Rocky Mountain Ridge. This fault line is going to become activated. Wait, you have 200 nuclear power plants in my circle here. There's going to be no safe zone over on this side whatsoever, even if you have a good cavern position in the Appalachians. because you have 6 nuclear power plants that are down. You see, you're going to be downwind. And if you live in the eastern side of Canada, forget it. Anywhere in the northeast United States, these mountains, these Appalachian mountains up here are not high enough. You're dealing with 3-mile deep waters just off the coast out here. Earth flips over. This is a funnel area. This water is going to run right over into the Great Lakes up here. No chance. Survival over here. No chance. Survival up here. Pyroclastic flows. One breath's going to kill you over here. Got to be further south. Texas is a pretty good place as long as you get far enough west. You got to go west of Dallas. Got to get up here over 1,000 feet up on. You can see the ridge line that it becomes kind of safe over in this area. You're not downwind of any nuclear power plants when you get down here far enough. Problem is, again, you got to have cavern that has water with a strong survival group. So we have a strong survival group here. We have caverns. We have caverns with water. We have, this is where I've been working for the last 6 years. Moved there, lived there, worked among the locals, built relationships. And this is where our survival group operation is, up in this corner right here. So people write me, can you hook me up with a group in Pennsylvania? There are no safe zones in Pennsylvania. Whenever you get your threat assessment information, you give me your permission to share your information. You have to give me a written email. I'm not going to share your email. You're not going to share any of your contact information with anyone. When you give me that, then I'm going to send it to them. Then you can send a group email to 150 people and find out who's in your area, who you can work with. You have to do that on your own. So my job in this investigation is to wake people up, like doing these presentations, doing the research on this side. There's a survival group leadership from the survival group that will take care of you, answer your questions and concerns once you're becoming a member of the survival group. It's impossible for me to run the survival group operations and to do this job right here that I'm doing. If I stop doing this, we're not adding new members. And unless I can replace myself, which I cannot, then there's no way that I can be as heavily engaged. I'm here to support newsletter subscribers, to answer their questions. In the past, it's been about Black Star and helping to wake up. Now it's becoming more and more about survival, and it's taking more time. And so there is a distinction there, but there are a lot of very talented survival group leaders over there. Those are the people that I'm going to be handing you over to whenever you share your contact information. So that's how you join your survival groups. It's over there at Terral3.com. Hit that subscribe button. It's only $25 per year. It's like a doom, gloom insurance policy, so that you have a bug out location, you have a place to go, you have like-minded people. A lot of times it really helps to be able to talk with like-minded people that are awake, that realize this thing's coming, because your family thinks you're nuts. And you can see the same kind of problems that other people going through. We have psychiatrist type people, psychologists, a big medical contingent of people that are there on the medical operations team to be able to help you with things like that. So good opportunity. Even if you're not fully aware that the Black Star is coming and you're a member of a survival group, you're a survivalist, then you can benefit from being a part of this survival group operation. Go ahead.
And I know you've done a lot of research with the United States. Have you done any research on land mass loss, like for instance over in Europe, South America, basically the rest of the world?
Yes, it depends on if the number of people, I got that feedback coming again, that request threat assessment information from around the world. So there's quite a few people in Northern Europe, for example, that listen to the Revolution Radio, and quite a few from the UK, and their safe zone is going to be down here in Spain. They've got a similar problem to the United States. They have, move some of this information here. Gigantic supervolcano here, gigantic supervolcano over here. These guys are going on to erupt, just like Yellowstone's going to. You're already seeing in the news where this big supervolcano here is becoming active. It's because it's so close to this terminal end that's running across here. This pressure is going to continue to intensify until this becomes active, and the one under Germany. It's maybe this spring you're going to be hearing about how this other big volcano, supervolcano, is becoming active. You have to have this the Pyrenees Mountains here as a protective shield. You're upwind from the prevailing winds going in that direction, and you have caverns that are in the Pyrenees here. The survival group that's working there with Jose and others is kind of in the center of the landmass. Remember, this is 2,000 feet above sea level, the plateau here of Spain. And they do have cavern positions here, and there are no safe zones north of the Pyrenees here. So this is your option unless you want to go to Turkey. And I haven't found a single European yet in the last 6 years that wanted to go to Turkey.
I don't want to.
So they have the choice of going to. They have the choice of going to Spain, or they have no choice. Some people, believe it or not, from Europe have relocated to the Ozarks, so they could be part of our survival group program here. And some people from Canada are migrating down to join us in the Ozarks too. No matter the location is very important, but it's only a partial consideration. It doesn't matter if you have the perfect location, you have no survival group to support you. If you don't have a medical contingent, a military contingent, builders, caregivers, people that represent a cross section of our society. Doesn't matter the location. So location first, yes, but then can you get a large survivor group put together there that has the human resources and the financial resources to meet your group needs? To do that, you need a lot of people. Therefore, since especially if the magnetic pole migration modeling is correct, this right here is going to be the safest place because it has a program that's been in place now for years. It has hundreds of people working together. That is not being reproduced, to my knowledge, anywhere in the world. Whether you're in Europe, we have a group in down here in Australia. We have another one over here in that you can't see in New Zealand, and we have another group in Malaysia over here in Indonesia. Coming together, not as many people working together in those other programs, but globally, then hundreds of families are working together, awake about the black star. They realize that something's coming and that the Earth is getting ready to have serious problems. So they are waking up and they have identified the need to prepare, and now they're on the a path to devising the best survival strategy possible. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just throw this at you real quick, and I've been getting a lot of emails from subscribers and a lot of talk about what is going on in the Antarctic. I mean,
Okay.
do you know about anything that you want to share with what this big interest is in the Antarctic?
The Antarctic has not been a very good witness in this case so far. The metal distribution on our planet, you notice most of the land mass is in the northern hemisphere, magnetite, most of the magnetite's in the northern hemisphere. That's the reason that our North Pole is the North Pole, because of the metal distribution. So then the black star comes in, it siphons electromagnetism from the sun, and then it redirects it to the planets through a secondary set of magnetic portal connections. What that means is the northern ice sheets were affected far before the southern ice sheets. So the northern ice sheets depleting, southern ice sheets, they do not have the the magnetite and other metals there for the electromagnetism, the electromagnetic energy to be translated into heat through induction. So the North Pole has been a very good witness. The South Pole has not been thus far, but is becoming a better witness in this case, partly because, and let's just pull up the story, because of the ice that it is shedding now, um, and the ice that is breaking off. And when you look at the cause, they're going to say this is because of internal heating. This is not because of atmospheric heating. There's something underneath the planet that's going on, and what's going on inside that planet has to do with these magma plume formations that are pushing further and further south, and that's going to be the harmonics, the boom, boom, boom that is rocking the world. That's becoming more and more apparent and changing the resonance, the frequency of our planet. It's having more of an effect on Antarctic ice. So the more shaking, the more quaking. This is happening deep inside the Earth. Those waves, those crisscrossing waves from the enlarging magma plume formation, is having a bigger impact on Antarctica. So it's just another indicator that we have by looking, we just go to the story and look at the pictures. I've been running in the newsletter for the last few weeks. It looks like I hit a story that just happens to have no pictures whatsoever. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, so it is becoming more and more of a story. You're going to see it more and more. A lot of people have been traveling down there recently to Antarctica, and I guess it's because Antarctica is more and more in the news. And maybe there's the South Pole telescopes, the Vatican, all those stories that kind of converge down there on the southern tip of our planet. Well, that's probably about all I'm gonna have for you on that. But as these magma plumes, you see more and more of these 5s and 6s getting closer and closer. This magma plume activity is going to get closer and closer to Antarctica, and then more and more of this ice is going to be breaking up. Moving forward, go ahead.
Well, yeah, something that one of my subscribers tossed me into last week was some video footage from a German research team, and this was all filmed in the Antarctic, and they literally have small towns with modern housing, like your old-fashioned general store back in the days of the cowboy. But these, and I have the video. I was kind of scared to do anything with it on YouTube and show it because it's about 30 minutes long. And these are modern houses, 2 and 3 stories. Some of them look like they would be almost like a hotel or a hostel of some kind. And they're all grouped together in a very large section of the Antarctic, sort of towards the tip of South America, that region right there. No snow on the ground whatsoever. They had very heavy pieces of large earth moving equipment, because I used to be a heavy equipment operator for years. They have the most massive bulldozers and the big gigantic cat articulating dump trucks. We're talking about things that you would use in a large strip mine facility. And they already have these roads constructed that are just perfect. They're not paved, but when I saw this video, it was all in German. The people were talking in German. Uh, I mean, I was a little thrown back by all of that to see all of these modern houses and these modern structures already positioned and in place, and all of these people everywhere. They have a dock like you would see at a marina, like in South Florida. They already have it all built.
That doesn't sound that
They're-
doesn't sound right, knowing that how cold it is. It's really freaking cold down there.
Well,
That place.
this is right on the coastal area. I'll tell you what. I'll slip the video. I'll slip the video in an email, and I'll send it to you, and you can check it out. And there was a whole host of other videos that were he was going to send me, and I said, look, I've seen enough already. Don't force these videos on me, because then I'm gonna put them together, and I'm gonna put them into a video, and I'm gonna put it on YouTube, because from what I'm seeing is preparation on someone's end, and this was all in German. There was a German research team. They were flying the German flag, and again, these were all houses, like, I mean, modern day houses. They look like they were all built, of wood and shingled and things of that nature, but no bricks or anything. But I mean, getting all of that material down there, getting all of that equipment down there. I mean, and I know they only have a short window of time every year to get supplies and get these ships in there. But is this something that they've been doing for quite a long time? I mean, they would have had to have been preparing like this in this region for quite some time. And it kind of blew my mind to see that. And I mean, again, we're never going to know everything that these folks do, but the video kind of captured my thoughts, and I still think about it. And I just watched the video again this morning to see if I could pick out anything in particular about it. But the housing just kind of blew me away. But I'll slip it in an email, and I'll
Yeah.
send it to you. You can check it out.
Is there something else you want to cover?
No, absolutely. I think you've covered everything. Gives my subscribers a great chance to listen to you and all your
Okay.
thoughts and your information. And yeah, we'll touch base again in a few weeks, and then I'll put all of the links to your information, your YouTube channel and everything. We'll put all that in the description box. I'll send you a link to this, and I appreciate you taking your time. I know
Okay.
you're very busy, and hey, man, we just have to buckle down like you're doing. Preparation is everything. And once again, you're not going to survive this alone. And I think your take on this, being part of a professional group, is definitely, the way to go. And I really appreciate your time, Terral.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And when you get ready again, we'll get to the bottom of this earth change lull period in the middle of February. So about the end of February, probably a good time. And then the uptick, it's going to be gigantic, and that's going to be the end of April going into May. So we'll probably want to do another one around that time too.
That sounds real good to me, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very
You
much.
have a great week, Terral.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Nibiru channel. Today, I am here with Terral from the Black Star Project, and we're going to be going over his take on what is happening with our planet and the earthquake situation. He's also going to give you a rundown on his Black Star Project. Very, very important information this afternoon. Terrell's taking his time out today to be with us. Terral, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Looking forward to sharing information with your subs on Project Black Star, the Earth changes, and Black Star current position, and maybe a little bit about survival group operations.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they all want to hear about it. First and foremost, I've been very concerned over the past several weeks about our earthquake situation. I try to talk about it as much as possible on my channel. I think it's a very, very important subject matter right now. And each and every day, over these past several weeks, I mean, I see the pattern clear as day. But, I mean, you have a very systematic way of explaining this, much more knowledge than I do. So right now, I'm going to give you the floor and let these folks know what's happening.
Okay. And as far as an earthquake report, then you can also go to Terral Black Star, my YouTube channel. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you, Scott, back there somewhere.
Here, I will.
Yeah, I gave a recent update report that you can watch for more information on explaining on understanding the seismic pattern that we've seen here lately. The tectonic volcanic dynamic has shifted several times since 2004. In Solomon Islands, February 6, 2013, we had a big reset. We had another one, the 8.3 chilly quake, 2015, late in the year. Very strange things happened after that to tell us that we had a reset. We had no 6 magnitude earthquakes, for example, on the planet for a 5-week period after that chilly quake. And the 2.54 magnitude earthquakes diminished down to just 107, the lowest value for the last 5 years after Solomon Island. And the reason that you're seeing this activity that's right there in the United States, you didn't see this. When this investigation started, we had a quake swarm area right here, Baja California quake swarm area. You had one here at Oklahoma. Now you can see that this has changed, and it changed since 2003. The incidence of 3 and above earthquakes at Oklahoma has gone parabolic now. It was under 100 per year, well under 100 per year prior to 2013. The Russians came out with that grim report. 2014, the Schumann resonance, you're going to want to do a little bit of research on that, changed. 2004 and 2005, magnetic pole migration, the pattern of the way that the magnetic North Pole moves in its series of circles changed in 2005. It's now trailing itself by 12 degrees from the previous year. It's done that. It's doing that now in a series of loops. It's been doing it for the last 4 years. It's been doing that. So it's coming in line with that 12-day differential that you see. See if I can pull this back up. This 12 degrees that you see right here in the seismic chart between our near side alignment quake events, our backside alignment quake events. We had some late back here, and we're wondering if this Vanuatu quake right here, you see this little small angle, should be a 12. It's because of Jupiter. It's looking more and more. Whenever Jupiter was in back orbit, the black stars over on this side of the solar system, whenever Jupiter was in back orbit around here, just take the position of the black star in Libra, draw a line this way, then draw a perpendicular line this way, 90 degrees, and you have this half of the solar system that Jupiter is in near orbit to the black star, and this backside where it's on back orbit. Well, it made the transition over here at the 90-degree angle mark on January 5th, 2014. The backside alignment quake events were late back over here when Jupiter was around here. Now our near side alignment event came a little over a week early on the last cycle, and we're wondering, black star and Jupiter are getting really, really close. We're wondering if this solar system harmonics is being influenced by Jupiter and throwing off the modeling, what's going on. But while I'm here, I'll just show you how and why we have 2 Earth change uptick periods every year. It's very predictable, and 2 lull periods every year. So we can look at this cycle, or we can go back to a previous cycle in 2012. If you're following my research in 2012, we're putting Leo in the background, like this. And we would have reached the 90-degree. I'm going to have difficulty grabbing the Earth like that without messing it up. Here we go. We're going to bring the Earth back around to this 90-degree angle. There's Leo right there. And so when we get to this 90-degree angle mark, this is whenever the Earth change uptick period would start. And the reason is because the black star being here, the Earth has been in back orbit to the black star moving around, but it's when we start moving towards the black star like this that we have the uptick period. So it's pretty easy to identify. For this particular cycle that we're on right now, the black star so we've been tracking it every year coming across. I've been making these same presentations as it's been coming across every year. And now it's in the Libra constellation relative to the sun. There's an article in this week's newsletter because they're asking me, this the blue, what's his name? Black Sun, somebody on YouTube. He has a different method using tides, and he's been using Jupiter, and he has apparently some pretty good data. I haven't been able to look at it yet, but he's placing the black star over in Sagittarius. He's saying that's where it is, but he's talking about relative to Earth position. That it's important to realize that in all of my commentary, black star position is given relative to the sun. It varies with the Earth because the Earth's moving around the sun like this. The sun is the center of the solar system. So the black star's between, not way out there where Libra is. The black star is actually somewhere near Mars orbit path. It's pretty close right here. So if relative to you can see that Mercury, to give you an example, is in Virgo relative to the sun. But whenever we turn the solar system around and look at it from Earth, you can see that it's in Sagittarius. It's between Scorpio and Sagittarius relative to Earth, right? Because it's so close to us. The black star being relatively close to us as Earth is going around the sun, it's changing its position relative to the ecliptic constellations based upon Earth's moving 2 astronomical units, 180 million miles from this end of the solar system to this end of the solar system. So if we could see it, it would appear to be moving back and forth. And while we are in near orbit, the Earth is going this way, it appears to be retrograding. As we're moving between them, then we pass the black star and then move by it. So it's behind us. It's even with us. We have the same view as the sun relative to the sun in the month of April, late April, because we're in a straight line. But when we go past it, the black star would appear to be retrograding back into Virgo from our position relative to the Earth. That's why in all my presentations, I'm going to give you position of the black star relative to the sun, because it does change with the Earth. But the uptick period comes when the Earth is moving like this towards the black star. The reason is because the black star is here, the sun's here, the black star is here, the Earth is here. We're moving towards it. The magnetic portal connection between the Earth and the black star is getting shorter and shorter every day. And it's shortening by up to 60,000 miles per hour when we're moving directly towards it. A shortening magnetic portal connection means that the internal conduits, two types, the active conduits and the passive conduits that are on the outer wall, that they provide insulation properties for the magnetic portal connections. But as these two stars get closer and closer together, the internal conduits, the active conduits, greatly outnumber the passive conduits that are squeezed and pushed to the outside. That's what causes this magnetic portal connection from the black star and the sun to interact with these other magnetic portal connections as they come in near proximity. So that's what happens to cause the magnetopause reversal. For example, March 12, 2012, and again on April 23rd, 2016, because the Earth was moving between the two stars. We're pulling a Sun-Earth magnetic portal connection and a black star-Earth magnetic portal connection across the primary star-to-star connection. And as that happens, these magnetic portal connections create a triangle in here that converges, and then the black star crosses through. Those magnetic portal connections are pulled across one another. As they are, it causes portal-to-portal cross-firing. It creates highly charged ionic clouds that are being misrepresented by NASA, suspicious observers, and others as interplanetary shock waves. That's what they're calling them, interplanetary shock waves.
You know what?
So we get these crisscrossing waves, and then so that explains how we're going to get the uptick period. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, in your research with this black star, can you compare it to a brown dwarf, or is it just its own monster?
Definitely not a brown dwarf. Early in the investigation, we thought it was a brown dwarf, but then we got Don, our project astronomer. He has an observatory class telescope at his disposal and infrared accessories. We know the observation window times. The optimum times is for the last few years have been April and May. We know where it's at. He knows where to look. He's a good astronomer. He's looking, cannot make observations. Cannot see evidence of microlensing, gravitational lensing effect. Cannot see a darn thing. So we know where it is, but we also know that we can't see it. It's not a brown dwarf star.